Good morning, dear friends on Facebook and Ustream and YouTube. I'm glad you're joining us this morning. Good morning, dear ones. Can I be heard out there? Yay! A slightly damp morning here. A few raindrops, not a lot. Another morning. Another morning, consciousness returned, and at some point we rolled out of bed and then followed our intention to be here. And I must say it's a delight for me when I turn on the screen and there you are. What incredible good fortune. So, I was talking with a friend, actually my sister, yesterday about the people that are dying in hospitals and nursing homes significantly unattended because their families can't get in. And at the end of life, families often do provide a lot of comfort. And then I was reflecting, so what would it be like to be one of those people? And I have had, I don't know, what was it, 10 days or more in the hospital last year. And I always had incredible care. And my family was there. But there were times when I was just alone in my room with what was going on. And I kind of cherished them, actually. But what if it were the case that moment when you or I are facing our death? And that's part of what we're doing here. We're preparing. We're preparing to live well and to die well. So I have a wonderful poem in that regard this morning. Mary Oliver, When Death Comes. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me, and snaps his purse shut. When death comes like the measle pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through that door full of curiosity, wondering what it is going to be like, that cottage of darkness. And therefore I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy and just as singular, and each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending, as all music does, toward silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of myself something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. Isn't that something? When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. And so our practice is about making something particular in the present moment What is this present moment? What's happening now? How intimate can we be? How intimate can you be right now with the fact that there's a body sitting here? It's breathing, it's hearing, and we can be supported on this journey of a few more breaths by the refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. Refuge in being awake, in that which knows, this miraculous, mysterious capacity that is central to us. Refuge in the way things actually are, the law of karma, the truth of impermanence, the truth of dukkha, the truth of anatta, of literally anatta translates as not soul, and that's kind of sticks in the craw of many of us in the West when we've been raised with it so fundamentally. What if the issue is not having a soul, but forgetting our vast ultimate nature? So let's do what human beings have done now for thousands of years. Let's sit. When Buddhism went over the mountains, the Himalayas, to China, they went west. They went west to Afghanistan and over that way. It was only later that they figured out how to go straight over north of India. And they found their way into China and Tibet, of course, on the way. And after several hundred years, Buddhism became one of the national religions. And it was called Cha'an. And Cha'an means the sitters, those who sit. So this is the central practice. Stopping, sitting, breathing. And find a way to sit comfortably and see if you can sit still. There are lots of little itches that come along, or a need for a drink, or a desire for a drink. But there's something that really stabilizes us in simply not moving. Doesn't mean we can't move, but we take it as a spiritual vow or aspiration to sit still. So what do we discover if we bring awareness to the present? There's a body sitting here. And it is alive. Feel that life. And the body breathes. How intimately can you be present with the beginning, middle, and ending of each breath? How curious can you be of each experience? And with a gentle determination, come home to the experience of breathing again and again. we attend to the simplest, earliest aspect of each experience. When it's the sensations of breathing, it's just those sensations. There doesn't need to be commentary or analysis. It's just resting here in the present moment with the breath coming and going. Of each experience. We make room for anything and everything that arises. The mind may be calm and quiet, concentrated, in bliss perhaps, or totally at ease. Or it might be restless, agitated, worried. It might be wanting, craving something, or wanting something to not be like it is. It could be sleepy dullness, sloth and torpor. It could be doubt. It could be filled with emotion. None of these experiences are wrong or bad. They are all what makes up a human being. Gradually, we awaken to the fact that none of them are particularly personal. And it is this quality of awakening from the trance states that arises as we set ourselves free from clinging and identification. Allow each breath to invite you more and more fully into this birth, this lifetime. It's true that life is often very difficult. Sometimes it is extraordinarily difficult. Part of our task is to embrace the difficulty and to not distract or run away. Makes me think of when the Buddha made his way to his 5 friends after his awakening. They weren't even going to let him sit with them, but they saw something was different. And the first thing he said was, there really is a lot of dukkha in life, a lot of suffering in life. It's normal for us human beings. Fortunately, he didn't stop there. He went on to explain the cause of this dukkha and the fact of freedom from it and the path. And the path lies straight through this moment. Resting in that which knows, that which is awake, the Buddha. Aware of breathing in and out. Aware of anything and everything else that occurs inside you and around you in successive moments. As we sit, discomfort may arise in the body. Another very useful aspect of our being to become aware of. Certainly, to live well and die well, learning to bear with discomfort or pain is one of our great tools. To bear boredom, to bear physical pain, to bear anxiety and agitation, to bear terror, all these flavors of life that come to us. To be present with and conscious of joy, contentment, compassion, love. This moment is exactly as it is right now. If we have the experience it should be different, we are at war with reality. It will be different. But now it's like this. You may have some plans for today, some things to do, some responsibilities to fulfill, some pleasures to pursue. Perhaps we could carry with us into this day a willingness to feel fully whatever happens, to be present fully in whatever happens. This is the taking refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and in the Sangha. It's not something we do once or once a day, or it's actually a schematic, in a way, of the entirety of embracing life. How many times today do you think you will notice your breath coming and going? Or notice that you're walking, or You're opening the refrigerator or picking up your phone. Why not intentionally have more moments of awareness today? Cultivate this awareness. And we are capable of thinking anything, believing anything. We have lots of conditionings that came with being mammals and came from the family we lived in at childhood, our culture. The conditioning process continues, so why not cherish a thought like, I love you, with your name at the end? Maybe your name when you were little. I love you, with your name. Were there things that were said to you when you were little that were very nourishing, or are there things you wish you had heard? Things like, I'm so glad you were born, or I'm so glad you're who you are. Or no matter what you do, I will always love you. We are allowed and encouraged to speak really beautifully to ourselves, to speak loving, compassionate thoughts that seem extreme. This is part of fully embracing this life, facing the unskillful conditionings from childhood and planting some new ones. May my life become one great sigh of gratitude. How does that one fit? When I meet others who are acting unskillfully, may I meet them with deep compassion. And please now become aware of where your body touches the cushion or the chair. Notice the life in your feet and legs. Feel one breath with the entirety of the upper body. And letting awareness drift into the cheeks and eyes. And now letting your eyes open, noticing the intention of that and then the effort to open the eyes. Seeing. And in this seeing, what's at your end? In my case, there's you. This is thanks to Richard Lang. There's you. And you fill me Do you have a face in this experience? I have no face, I have you. And what's at this end for all of us is a field of awareness. We've been very, very taught that we have a face, and we believe that. And of course we do have something that we can touch. But in the direct experience, what's really there is knowing. You know, we know the physiology of the eye, the structure. There's the retina, and then the retina is actually brain tissue that's been spread, and then light hits that, and then it creates consciousness. Now, isn't that interesting? Or consciousness meets it there. So we see, quote, each other here. How utterly precious. So I think that's what I have to say this morning. I'd like to invite you to share, how is it going as this coronavirus crisis continues? I've done a little bit, I did my usual little bit of news, and there's some quite unsettling predictions of number of deaths and the length of time that we will be in seclusion. And this great experiment we're trying in our country of opening things up and quite probably shutting them down again rather heavily. So much unknown for us, which I guess there always is. So I'm open to your sharing anything you would like or asking any question you'd like. I saw your lips move, Russ. Were you speaking to the... Oh, hang on. I wonder...
Can you hear me?
I can now, yes. I have to turn on my sound.
I jumped in because I've been half listening to you this morning and half focused on the agitation and restlessness that occurs. And it's on a theme that happens almost daily. And that is, I've had somewhat of a social conscience, but about 15 years ago, after going to the Minuteman Museum in Concord with Nancy, I had what I would call a transformative experience there. I feel tearful as I say it, I felt like I walked on hallowed ground and contemplated what had been given by those people for the birth of our country. They gave their health, they gave their lives, they left their farms, sometimes not to be worked. And there was no medevac. And I came away with a feeling of a profound obligation to carry forward what they had done to provide me with the environment of, well, at least at that point, a relatively decent country in which to live. And still, anyway. So I have this daily, literally, conflict. There isn't a day that goes by that there isn't something that I feel I want to respond to in some way. Send a letter, or, I do send donations politically. That's because it doesn't take much. When the oil terminal came, I got very involved in that. It was quite amazed at the fact that we defeated its construction in Vancouver against quite major odds. But then I have this dilemma because on the one hand, it feels like from a spiritual standpoint, Buddhism, the mindfulness meditation is calling me to be contemplative and mind and be aware. That with this urge to act and where to draw the lines for myself, and it's a constant source of low level but present tension. And any thoughts and comments you have would be greatly appreciated.
I think what you're speaking of is shared by many people, Russell. It's certainly shared by me. And some of us are drawn to activism, and the task then becomes to do that activism with as much love as we can, to not hate the enemy. I remember just now an article I read years ago of one of the Western bodyguards for the Dalai Lama. You know, he travels with a profound shield around him. There are 4 or 5 Tibetan very heavy-duty guys, and then there's some Westerners, and then there's the Secret Service. This is when he's here. There's the Secret Service, and then there's layers of police. When he was at Spirit Rock, I left the session once and I went out and spoke with the fellow in charge of the Secret Service, and there were snipers up in the hills. He travels with that level of protection. He's needed it. Anyway, the article was about this Western guy who was asked, "Would you injure someone to protect His Holiness?" And he said, "Why, yes, of course." And the interviewer then said, "Well, would you kill someone if you had to?" And he said, "Of course I would, and I would do it with as little rancor as possible." So there could be a circumstance like you got really fired up to work on that stop the oil terminal. Thank you very much. There have been things in my life that I've gotten fired up over. I went to Standing Rock, and I feel so sad. Standing Rock was my encounter with the black beast of the oil companies. It was quite stunning. Anyway, Father Crow has something to say. We can do both, and I think we must do both. That to have a heart, to have a capacity to move into love and to realize the person over there with his assault rifle watching me in binoculars is just a person. And so my task is to love him, even though I would do whatever I can to stop him from doing what he's doing. So I'm going a very long-winded way around this, it seems like, but I think it's for me, it's really important to have that place where we're not separate, that I can go back to that. So, for instance, with that agitation and so on this morning, to come into your practice and relinquish that as fully as you can, to move into a place of simple openness and love. And then you will know if there's something for you to do. I remember in the Gandhi movie, early on, rioting started and there was quite a bit of killing. Nothing like later, and Gandhi withdrew for a year. He said, "I won't do this if you're going to fight." And then he had that showed him thinking and contemplating, and he was sitting on the riverbank under a tree, and he had this idea, which was the Salt March, to walk to the sea and to break the British stranglehold on salt. But it took him a year. He withdrew for a year. So that's how I make sense of it. And way back in Ronald Reagan times, I became an American citizen to vote in the Ronald Reagan election. And I got up at a demonstration or two and tried to lead a loving kindness meditation for Ronald Reagan, and it was a total failure. I didn't have the personal power, and also people didn't want to love Ronald Reagan; they wanted to hate him. And hatred is never appeased through hatred. Only through love is hatred healed, says the Dhammapada. So that's a little on that.
Thank you.
Anybody else, please?
Yeah, Robert.
Yes, I hear someone.
That's me, Maria Cristina.
Hi, Christina. Hello.
Maria Cristina.
Maria Cristina.
All right.
Thank you. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I just want to share, and I also want to ask a question. Yesterday I go walking, and I found this really wonderful practice for me because I can walk, but at the same time, I found that my body, that I was not the walker, but I don't know how to say it, but like my body was actually walking. I knew exactly where to put my feet, how to move my hands. That I was amazed of this incredible body we have that takes care of ourselves so well, without needing to think, oh, I need to put this foot here, I need to put my hand out. It's like just a sense of freedom and concentration. I'm looking at my breath, and I realized that just my breath is not just my breathing here from my lungs to here, from my nose to my lungs, but that is the entire body was actually breathing in order for me to be able to walk. Like it is all connected. It's not just like I breathe and I walk and I think and that there was, everything was connected. But of course, my question is like, okay, but at the same time, I was so aware of the wind in my face and the sun in my face and the beautiful flowers and the beautiful smells and the beautiful people around. And because of the social distance, so suddenly I saw this person, and it was just coming, and I realized, why is this person not moving to the other side when this person knows that I'm walking this way, right? And I suddenly thought, my God, why do I think that I am so important?
Right.
To think that I am the one that have to order the other world to do what I think I need, right? I mean, what am I, right? And so I decided from now on, anybody that comes my way, I just turn around and not turn around, but cross or whatever I'm supposed to do at the time, because I feel like they have the same right that me. And this idea that it's me, myself, and I, only owner of the universe, right? The rest of the world, they do what they have to do for me, right? So thank you for letting me share. And thank you, Robert. I'm new in Portland and new in the Portland Meditation Center. And this has been a savior for me. I don't know what to do without because it's all of you and Robert, of course, and I am so thankful to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that beautiful experience. That's really a lovely flowering of consciousness, isn't it? Really realizing our interconnectedness with each other, and I loved how you intercepted the criticism of the other and saw that. It's like, so that's it's wonderful. We are How do I put it? This that sits here is remarkably conditioned and prejudiced and narrow-minded and selfish. And it's so interesting to see him sometimes. It's like, enough already, right? So, thank you. I see you have a nice little Tonka back there. Beautiful.
It's from Tibet.
Aha. Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Maria Cristina. Beautiful. My mother was named Eleonore Beatrice Morin. Isn't that nice? French. Eleonore Beatrice Morin.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Anybody else, please? What's our time? Oh, we got a few more minutes.
Good morning, Robert. It's Sherry.
Hello, Sherry Peterson. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
Yay.
I love the Mary Oliver poem. I have it saved in my computer.
Ah.
I just wanted to share how I thought I was doing really well. Becoming aware of my reactions to things that were said, things that I read. I would have a reaction, and this is in the last few days, and then I thought, oh, that's anger. Okay. And then and maybe at another time it would be, oh, you're reacting with some frustration here. And pretty soon I was able to see my reaction before I really felt it, like I felt it coming.
Mm. Wow, nice.
But what really spoiled it was several mornings in a row, I would be sitting here with you and Zanga, and I would lose connection.
Right.
Oh boy, the anger was just wow. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, frustration. I could pick up that laptop and throw it across the room.
Uh-huh.
Very, very upset because this time with you and everyone's become so precious.
Uh-huh.
So yesterday morning, I'm sitting and I'm thinking, okay, probably going to happen again. Just watch it. And it didn't. I stayed the entire time.
Yay. Good.
That's important. Everyone's comments and sharing. Yes.
Thanks. Thank you, Sherry.
Hey, this is Christy.
Hey, Christy.
I love hearing when other people who are trying to practice, Buddhist teachings and keeping calm, but I love hearing when you guys lose your Zen too. I really had a freak out yesterday. I was making sourdough bread and I spilt my starter.
Uh-oh.
That takes a week to grow. And then I was watching myself have a temper tantrum, and at the same time I was thinking, next time you gotta handle this better. I don't know, but I think my outbursts are shorter and with less ferocity because of the daily meditations. And I love hearing everyone's comments. I just do. The Sangha is super powerful for me being isolated. So thank you.
Here's a poem for you. It's by Portia Nelson. It's called Autobiography in 5 Chapters. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm hopeless. It isn't my fault. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I cannot believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it's there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. I walk down another street. Isn't that it's the lovely progression of how we repeat things so many times, these old patterns. But then you're having a temper tantrum, but you're not fully having a temper tantrum. There's a part of you that's watching and maybe judging, which is extra. But then it gets to the point where you'll have a temper tantrum, and then it'll be, oh, you poor thing, you're having a temper tantrum. And then there comes the time when the moment you could go into temper tantrum, but you don't. Or maybe you don't for 10 seconds, and then you do, and it's like, oh, there it is again. But these patterns gradually attenuate. They get less and less and less unskillful patterns. So, you were conscious of the temper tantrum yesterday, and you got a little bit. When we go into self-hatred about a pattern, that kind of blinds us a little bit, because that's another pattern. But then the task is to see that. Say, oh, here's the judging mind judging me for having a temper tantrum. And so it becomes much more objectified. And it all has to be rooted in love, or it doesn't work. So congratulations on an almost fully conscious temper tantrum. Yes!
Woohoo! Thank you.
Yeah.
Morning, Robert and Sonia.
I hear someone very faintly. Whoop.
It's Emily. Can you hear me?
I can now, yeah.
I was just going to share. I broke my favorite coffee mug last night while doing the
Uh-oh.
dishes. Yeah, and at first I was like, my most immediate reaction was I swore and was like, dang it, And then, but immediately on the heels of that was, well, the cup was already broken, like immediately.
Yeah.
And so you were there, Robert.
Well, Achan Cha and the Buddha were there too.
Yeah. So, and then I thought I can't remember the poem exactly, but you read it on retreat before about that, I think. So that to me, and I will be disappointed this morning when I go make my coffee and remember again. But I'm grateful for all the cups of coffee I did have in that cup.
Yeah, I had a favorite cup for at least 10 years at my office, and I was in my previous office, and we had radiators in that room, these big iron radiators, and I had completely cleaned up. I was moving to the center, and I was whirling around with my cup in my hand, whirling around my office saying goodbye, and bam! It went into 1,000 pieces, and I broke out laughing. It's like, nah, that's funny. Yeah. Congratulations. Now you get to get a new favorite cup.
I know. I'll go back to my old favorite, maybe.
Oh, you have that. That's good.
Suited, so yeah.
Fun.
Got a backup. Thanks.
Yeah.
I have one thing to say. Let me unmute myself. Hi. this
Hello.
is
What's your name?
Martha.
Hello, Martha.
Hi, Martha and Dave. We're sort of sitting on different sides of the room.
Uh-huh.
I just really appreciate how many women have spoken up in this share this morning.
Yeah.
I confess that sometimes PIMC feels very male-dominated in its leadership and teachers, and it just delights me to hear from so many women this morning, and I'm just grateful for that. I just wanted to say that.
Speaking as a male and the founder of PIMC, There are more than enough men in positions of teaching at PIMC. Our board is better balanced, and the committees that we have are better balanced, but something happened when I initially invited the next generation teachers to come and do 3-year training. There was an equal gender balance, and the way it turned out by the end was not that, and that was disappointing, a lot disappointing. And so we're slowly inching forward with some remediation, and I think you'll be pleased with what you see. And this year we had several women come and visit teaching, and that was a bit helpful. But we clearly need more diversity like that, and please know that we are not unaware of it.
Thank you so much for speaking to that.
Yeah, it's I saw it actually when that list came out of here's all the online offerings, and it's like the Senate, except we're not quite as old. Well, I am, but some of the teachers are not so old. It's like this group of old men. It doesn't. It's not only that it doesn't look good; it isn't good. So
Watch it, Buster.
some of the men are old and have white beards. It's a loving group of men. It's a group of men, many of whom have really developed both sides or many sides of themselves. It still doesn't mean we don't need women in the teaching roles, though. So, hi, Jim. You're suddenly big on my screen. Well, it's 8:05, my dears. Is anybody sitting with something that you would like to share or would be helpful to the group to share?
Hi, good morning. This is Gail, and I know you can't see my face, but I can't do anything about it, so I'm just gonna be here in the dark. I just wanted to say something about the watcher. You know, you guys are talking about, you know, that the one who watches us, you know, and I have had experiences where the watcher was actually, you know, while I was sleeping. And I had another one last night where recently my breathing I can tell things are a little different. I think from the meditation particularly, you know, just noticing and watching the breathing. And last night it just got, I noticed I went from being unconscious to kind of semi-conscious and noticing that I had deeper breathing. And I was just wondering if you have any comments or anything, you know, say about it. This always makes me feel funny, you know, when I notice that. It's sort of a life of its own that sort of, I don't know. Anyway.
Sounds like mindfulness is penetrating your deeper levels and you're noticing lots of things. And it'll continue.
Oh, great.
Great. All right, dear friends. How nice to see you. So, I will unmute us and we can part in our strange cacophony song. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Happy trails, dear ones.
Everyone, have a good
Thanks for coming this morning.
day.
Wink. People disappearing. Quite remarkable.
gonna say goodbye. I left it out to give to her.
Goodbye, all.
Bye, B.
Bye, Lauren.
Have a good day.
Oh, did I never? Goodbye, dear friends.